I first want to begin discussing the link between marketing strategy and formulation and effective execution. My strategy as CEO of Minnesota Micromotors Inc. was to benefit every customer in each segment to the best of my ability while still maintaining a healthy budget. The strategy I used was to examine customer satisfaction during every quarter before I made every decision. If customers were very satisfied, then I knew I was doing my job well. Anything that stated the customer was just satisfied or anything below that level, I took their complaints into consideration and executed it by either increasing their discounts or making improvements on the manufacturing unit. As we discussed in class, it's always important to keep our customers. I had to make sure I evaluated the percentage of large customers I retain. I usually spend about 75% on large customer spending and about 85 to 95% on retaining large customers. Since I spent such a great deal on large customer spending, my sales rates in that department were particularly high, whereas my small market, their spending was drastically low. If you look at my sales, you'll see that the large customers during each quarter, it increased significantly, especially with my new customers. And with my small customers, it stayed the same. It was pretty low through each of the quarters. As manager during this simulation, or a CEO I should say, you had to find a balance on how to effectively appeal to each segment. Group A may not have been price sensitive, but they were also loyal to your company, and you had to figure out how to keep those customers coming back to your business. Each segment had a specific need they expected to be met. Segment B was very big on our motors meeting their thermal resistance satisfactions. If you look here, they talk about how they want us to meet their thermal resistance needs. I usually took money from my budget and added that to training more employees and spending towards bettering our thermal product. In the end, Segment B spending was low but consistent for the most part because they continued to use our services. Next, we're going to look at the income statement. For question 3, as I stated before, it was important that after every decision, I took into consideration the opinions of each customer in all 5 segments. The majority of my revenue came from my large customers, especially in the 2015 quarter, when I began to lower my prices from $142 to $135 and at times $130. My large customers provided me with revenue of $118.52 versus my small customers, which only provided me with about $118.80. I believe the more I lowered my prices, the more the small companies wanted to seek business with me. I was placing a lot of my budget into training, so I was providing the best products, and smaller companies took note, especially in the last quarter because my prices were so low. I had to understand that in the end, Segment A would always remain loyal to my brand, yet I still wanted to keep them there, so I had to make adjustments in prices in order to please them. Segment C was still new to the market, so I had to find a way to give them a decent discount while still trying to maintain a sense of competition in the industry. We'll look at for question 4, price played a very important role in the satisfaction of each customer. I learned that if you drastically changed the price, customers were quick to respond. They were either very dissatisfied or my sales would collapse severely. I had to learn how to gradually change the price. Sometimes I was very competitive and I would keep the price the same despite the complaints from Segment B or D. But in the end, I would still reach my goal for when we had to reach 3 million or 5 million. Other times I would change the price to accommodate the different segments. Sometimes I would go as low as $120, and I tried to lower the price by subtracting $5 at a time. But after many attempts and ultimately failing to reach the $8 million mark, I sometimes had to try a strategy of just taking $1 off each time. So it would be from 142, then leaping to 141, and sometimes I would go all the way to 137. For question number 5, let's look at the customer satisfaction again. I want to talk about Segment D in particular because they often mentioned that they went through third parties or a distributor, and that was a major conflict because Segment D could easily leave our business for another one at any point. And I always adjusted my prices with this group and gave them helpful yet consistent discounts, usually about 8%. The highest percentage I gave was to Group D, for the small customers. In the end, Segment D was one of my best customers, and their sales were very high, as you can see on the graph. For customer services, you'll see that Segment D, for the most part, was pretty consistent. Segment B, who usually complained about price, it was pretty low. Segment A, who was loyal, their prices continued to escalate from 2012 to 2015. And Segment C was just a little higher than Segment B. And you can see my large customer sales were pretty high, and small customer unit sales were pretty low. For question number 6, we talked about marketing research. Once again, customer satisfaction played a significant role in how I use my budget. This was the foundation for my major marketing and financial decisions. If a segment complained about price or complained about employee availability, then I took that into quick consideration and placed more spending into those particular departments. I tried to stay steady with the competition as well. And you can see I was below the competition, but I tried to keep my prices somewhat competitive with them, but towards the end of the quarters, we kind of drifted in our sales. Look at our power to size ratio. Kind of all were in deep competition at this point. And then thermal resistance price. It was kind of the same situation, but not as competitive. We kind of stuck neck and neck when it came to that. For question number 7, let's look at our net prices. You learn to really appreciate your customers during this simulation. They can either make or break your business. There were times when it was challenging to try to figure out which groups to please. Group B, right here, often complained about price, as I said before, and the fact that our motors didn't fit their thermal needs. I had to find money within the budget to lower that price, yet also add more money to the thermal resistance spending. Group D also complained about certain parts that were maybe delivered late or disassembled. I then had to try to find a way in the budget to hire more people and add money to market communications and training. The more you accommodated these segments, the better your income statement appeared, and the more your profits improved. You often saw the moment that you made the prices too high or didn't make quick adjustments to the complaints that you were told to you, your profits would suffer terribly, and so would your income statement. If your prices were decent, the customer would keep coming back to you. One thing that was consistent with segment B and D, they were never very satisfied. At times, I made them my main focuses, which caused me to forget the other segments. Yet for the most part, the other segments were very satisfied and kept spending money and providing good feedback. I had to remember that although they were satisfied, there was always room for improvement. Oftentimes, I should have added more money to training and overall efficiency. To conclude, I thought that this game was very challenging, but at times it was also a great learning experience when it comes to strategy in the marketing world. I feel like that Harbor Business can improve on providing helpful tips along the way, especially when it comes to the final segment of the simulation, which was reaching 8 million, and I ultimately reached 4.7 million. That was by far the most challenging part of the simulation, but I did enjoy playing the simulation game. Thank you.